Today, we're going to be talking about the storming of the Bastille. Now, this is part two of the beginning of the French Revolution notes. So, Bastille was a famous and notorious prison in France during this time. Many poor people were sent to this prison. And so, the regular French people wanted to overtake this prison, to take it over and to hold it as their own. So King Louis begins ordering troops around Paris, and he wants to protect his kingship. He wants to maintain king of France. The National Assembly, which is the group of those poor people, were scared that King Louis was going to start using violence against them. So they needed to arm themselves and be ready. So on July 14th, 1789, a mob of Paris citizens, they went to Bastille, and they were looking for weapons and to free the prisoners and to gain power. They at first tried to negotiate with the commander of Bastille. This failed. So when they did, this armed mob stormed the Bastille, killed all the people there, freed the prisoners, and cut off the head of the commander and stuck his head on a stick. And they paraded around through the streets. The prison itself only held about 8 prisoners, but it was a symbol of oppression to the poor people. So the poor people overtaking it was showing the king that they're not going to take it anymore and we can do what we want. This here is a picture of Bastille and the people down here storming Bastille. Now there was a great fear that was created amongst the rich people. Many of the rich people were getting scared of these poor people. These poor people were doing whatever they wanted against the rich. I mean, they were killing them, doing whatever. It was a horrible time, and a lot of people were scared. Now, the poor people wanted to create a new nation. So this National Assembly formed a new government while France's monarchy, or the king's power, was crumbling. They created this document called the Declaration of Rights of Man. This document was created in 1789. Basically says that all people are going to be equal, everyone has equality, liberty is everywhere, everyone's equal under the law, and everyone gets freedom of speech and religion and all that. The only people that are left out of this, unfortunately, were women. Here's a picture of what that declaration might have looked like. Now, they wanted to restrict the king's power. So the poor people created this constitution, these documents, because they wanted to take more and more power away from the king. Louis called troops to Versailles to protect his palace. And while the men were out fighting the war, supporting the revolution, the women stayed at home, take care of the children, and to try to find food. Problem is, there still wasn't enough food for the poor people. The war was going on, the rich people still had the food, and the poor people were still suffering. So about 7,000 women marched from Paris to Versailles, where King Louis lived, and they were demanding for bread. Now, Marie Antoinette, which was King Louis's wife, said that, well, if they can't eat bread, let them eat cake. As you see here, let them eat cake. This was an insult to these people. They couldn't afford bread. What makes them think that they can afford cake to eat? So the people got really mad. And Louis was scared, so he moved his palace to a new place, Tuileries. And shortly afterward, the power of the church and the clergy were being taken away as well. So the people are gaining more and more power. A new government was formed by the National Assembly. They finally, in 1791, they finally completed their new constitution, and they created this legislative assembly, and the power of the king was just almost gone. There was almost nothing left now by this point. Then, eventually, the monarchy ends. Many outside countries were trying to intervene or to stop this revolution, but the revolutionaries were able to fight them off and win. And in 1792, a mob of revolutionaries marched into the palace and they threw the royal family in jail. The legislative assembly were powerless. Even though they were created by these people, they felt powerless. The people were doing what they wanted to do, so they voted themselves out of existence. And a new legislative was created called the National Convention. And this was made up of all these radical revolutionaries, these people who were doing what they wanted to do and taking matters into their own hands. All these foreign interventionists or people coming in to stop the revolution were kicked out. they were defeated, and France's new government was created, a government formed by the people. In the next video, we will talk about the Republic.